Hey, happy Friday to you, everyone. Welcome to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. Well, every once in a while I do special things on Fridays. I love to introduce new books to you. And I want to introduce to you a book by Sam Dawson. Now, this week, I've introduced to you Sam's book, Revelation Realized, which is the study of martyr vindication and a focus on the book of Revelation. And I tell you, this is a fantastic book. You need to get a copy of this. Well, Sam Dawson, since writing this book, has also written another book entitled Restoration Cut Short. Listen to this very carefully. The Roman Catholic Eschatology of the Churches of Christ. Now, I know that an awful lot of my viewers have a background in the Churches of Christ. I want you to listen to me very carefully right here, okay? Even though Sam is focused on the eschatology of the Churches of Christ, what he says is equally applicable to the Reformed eschatology. And I say that because the eschatology of the Churches of Christ, while certainly is reflective, as Sam documents, I'm talking fully, the Church of Christ eschatology comes right straight out of Roman Catholic eschatology. But guess what? Reformed eschatology, other than the post-millennial side of it, likewise comes out of Roman Catholicism. The Reformed view of the man of sin, of Babylon, the end of time, and others. So you have a progression of the eschatology being found in the Reformed views and carried through the Reformed movement into the Churches of Christ. As Sam and I visited about this, he and I observed that many of the leaders and founders of the Restoration movement came right straight out of the Reformed movement. So there's a direct connection. So I don't want you to be so completely fixated on the idea that Sam Dawson is talking about Catholic eschatology in the Churches of Christ. It is applicable in a broader way. But for those who are members of the Churches of Christ, I hope that you will prayerfully consider what Sam Dawson does in this book. The documentation here is outstanding. Citation after citation directly out of the Catholic sources and the statements concerning the end of time, the judgment, the coming of the Lord, the resurrection. Citations from the Catholic sources, and I'm talking the authoritative Catholic sources that are directly reflected in Church of Christ teaching. Now, just because the Catholics taught something doesn't mean it's automatically wrong. But what Sam Dawson does in a fantastic way is to show, for instance, that the repeated statement about the, quote, end of time, which is a fundamental tenet of Roman Catholic eschatology, that very term is likewise fundamental in both the Reformed and the Church of Christ paradigm, but the term never appears in the Bible. Never. Now, since eschatology is so dominant in the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, and since references to the time of the end are so dominant in Scripture, don't you think that at least one time we would find that term, end of time? But as Sam points out extremely well, that term is simply not there, and the idea is not there. This is one of those books that causes you to go, oh my goodness, I had no idea. Now, very quickly, someone may say, well, why in the world would anyone say, you know, you had the Reform movement, which set out to change the errors of Roman Catholicism. You have the Restoration movement, which was focused on restoring New Testament truth. Why didn't they talk about eschatology? Well, the point of fact is they were more concerned with other issues. Eschatology was never a focus of the Reform movement. Oh, they used it to bash the Pope, to be sure, but never systematically developed. Same is true of the Restoration movement. And so, while they set out to do great things, they never focused on eschatology. And what Sam Dawson does in this book is to focus on the omissions, the glaring errors in Church of Christ eschatology, and he does it from Scripture. Now, I got to tell you, one of the most challenging aspects of Sam Dawson's book is his study of hell and the doctrine of eternal conscious torment. I'm contacted constantly. I was just this morning. An email asking me, what do you think about this doctrine? And I invariably say, I'm on the fence. But some years ago, I did somewhat, not an exhaustive, but I did somewhat of a study on the issue, and I discovered that many of the traditional passages that I had always used for eternal conscious torment simply do not speak of that. Well, guess what? I'm still on the fence. I'm still undecided, but this book is extremely challenging. For those who have a real interest in studying the issue of hell and eternal conscious torment, I want to recommend to you to get this book. I'm not saying that I agree with every aspect of it, but I want to tell you, it will challenge your traditional views. Book is normally $17.95 plus shipping. Contact me and say you want a copy of Sam Dawson's book, Restoration, cut short, Roman Catholic Eschatology in the Churches of Christ. Or just simply say, hey, I want Dawson's new book on eschatology. $17.95. Go to my website, send me an email, say you want the book. You can pay through PayPal. DonKPreston.com, BibleProphecy.com. I can assure you that this book will be enlightening to you. It will be challenging to you, and the documentation that he gives will force you to rethink. If you're willing to do that, you need to get a copy of Sam Dawson's book.